All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Imagine it's the 1970s. You don't have a sleek smartphone in your pocket. Instead, computing means navigating massive rooms filled with hulking, incredibly loud machines. And right in the middle of this world is a guy named Octavio Báez Hidalgo, who's staring down a totally insurmountable technological wall. To really get why Octavio was in such a bind, we've got to look at the crazy constraints of the era. He and his team, they only had a 12-bit computer with 32 kilo words of memory. Seriously, 32 kilo words. To put that into perspective, that is barely enough memory to hold a simple text-only email today. There's just absolutely no way it could juggle the thousands of data points he needed for his complex calculations. And this really gets to the core conflict. On one hand, you've got this incredibly weak 12-bit, 32-kilo-word machine. On the other hand, Octavio has to solve these massive, incredibly heavy statistical problems. It's like trying to drain a swimming pool with a teaspoon. The hardware they had was just completely mismatched for the heavy math they needed to run. Now, bigger machines did exist, but they were locked away in these heavily guarded fortresses known as computing centers. These places were essentially the gatekeepers of the really powerful mainframes, and they were ruled by this slow, agonizing, soul-crushing bureaucracy. You definitely couldn't just stroll in, sit down at a terminal, and start coding. Instead, you had to survive this absolutely brutal cycle. Step 1. You submit your program and data totally on paper, usually using punched cards. Step 2. You wait. And I mean you wait days, sometimes literally weeks. Step 3, you finally go to get your results and boom, you get a failure notice saying something like, the program did not compile. Step 4, you fix that one tiny typo on paper. And step 5, you repeat the whole excruciating process over again. I mean, can you imagine waiting 2 whole weeks just to find out you missed a single character? Right, so that leads us to a huge question. How do you actually bypass an impenetrable bureaucratic wall when the system is literally designed to keep you out, or at least slow your progress to an absolute crawl? How do you get the processing power you desperately need? Well, for Octavio, the answer wasn't to fight the bureaucracy directly. He came up with a master plan.
The master plan, hacking the system from the inside.
So Octavio realized the only way to beat the gatekeepers was to play their own game. Instead of complaining about the massive wait times, he voluntarily took and passed every single operator course the computing center offered. It's basically a 1970s training montage, just with paper tape and punch cards. He got certified as a card perforator, a perforated tape perforator, a printer operator, and finally a computer operator. He systematically collected every single credential they had. But why go through all of that? Well, this was his ultimate goal: unsupervised weekend machine time. He wanted that sweet, sweet overtime on the mainframes. See, on the weekends, the regular computing staff went home, and those giant computers just sat there doing absolutely nothing. Octavio wanted that raw, uninterrupted processing power entirely to himself. So, armed with his shiny new titles, he officially requests weekend access. And naturally, the bureaucrats immediately push back. They tell him point blank, no way, you can't. But then, he delivers this absolute mic drop moment. He literally slaps their own paperwork down and says, well, look, you yourself certified me in all the jobs in this computer center. I mean, checkmate, right? They couldn't argue with their own official stamps of approval. And the absolute best part? The inside hack completely worked. He smashed right through the bureaucratic barriers that were holding his statistical work hostage. By playing exactly by their rules, he totally bypassed the agonizing waiting periods and got direct, hands-on access to machines that were leagues ahead of his tiny 12-bit computer. The payoff and the twist. When the mainframe isn't enough. Okay, so Octavio pulls off the ultimate 1970s tech heist. He's got the keys to the kingdom. But here's the sobering twist to this whole thing. Even with totally unrestricted access to the most powerful mainframes around, the hardware still couldn't handle the math. He would start his massive program on Friday afternoon, the machine would chug away all day Saturday, it would keep processing all day Sunday, and yet Monday morning rolls around and nothing. The computer still hadn't delivered the results. Which leaves us with a wild dilemma. If hacking the bureaucracy and securing the mighty mainframe was literally just hurdle number 1, how on earth did Octavio solve these massive weekend processing failures? It really makes you think. When the biggest, baddest machine you can possibly access still isn't enough, what do you invent next? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll leave you to ponder exactly how you would engineer your way out of that one.